Oh wow, there's quite a lag or something.
Oh, the glitching has begun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th.
Well, shit.
Also, Mercury is in retrograde.
On Friday the 13th, what the hell, man?
And it's until the 3rd of June. That's quite a long time.
That's long. Yeah, so poor Bass has to have his birthday in retrograde. Shame. But apparently, like, Gemini and Aquarius is, like, a really good match as well. So that was so cute when we first started, like, going on dates. Bass was like, yo, I even checked, like, our star sign compatibility and you're a really good match. I was like, you're so perfect for me.
I wonder... You can't necessarily just go off of the sun sign because...
Yeah.
But I wonder...
You're a Cancer moon.
Taurus and Aquarius friendship. Let's see. Oh, Aquarius and Taurus compatibility is extremely low.
Then it must be our moon signs or whatever that love each other.
Something. These two zodiac signs are searching for completely different things in relationships and in life as a whole. Although they might develop a... no, I'm not looking for crush. I'm looking for friendship.
Well, I mean, I'll have my mansion and my fancy cars, and you can have your little farm next to it. And then we can just have, like, outside, like, picnics where we, like, merge our lives.
You can video call me from your mansion. Although I don't know if I have Wi-Fi in this house.
I mean, if I have a mansion, I'll freaking give you Wi-Fi.
I'll probably be able to sponge off of your Wi-Fi. The signal's going to be great.
Yeah, especially if Baz is in charge of it. You know him and his freaking technical stuff.
Oh, I need
And he and Baz can then have their own airsoft field.
True.
This is goals.
I was immediately thinking, I'll need to get a chicken coop for all the chickens so that they don't get hurt in the crossfires.
See, we are such different people.
You can get eggs from me, though.
I mean, you can come and cook for me. That would be nice.
That too, yes, exactly. Okay, wait, what does it say? It says, I found one that says friendship, specifically. A Taurus and Aquarius friendship isn't an easy one. It has some shared strengths and plenty of challenges. These two signs aren't naturally attracted to each other, and if they do become friends, it will be from a place of mutual respect for the other's talents and abilities.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Oh, Aquarius appreciates the bull's determination and recognizes it as an important attribute both signs share and is imperative for success. Oh, I can't read. Good luck with today's podcast. Oh, I'm speaking.
You're the one
to
editing, so
me.
good luck to
I
you.
know. And then Taurus appreciates the sheer genius of Aquarius and status as an expert in their chosen career. And they share an appreciation for creativity and originality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds right.
I mean, how many friends forever? Oh no! Fuck, the podcast is in jeopardy.
Please, we bonded over. We bonded over my dad wrote a porno, and like, you can't break a friendship that was born from that.
I never know how to start, but I know I have to. Like always, I just want to start with the disclaimer. The following stories contain graphic content and might not be suitable for everyone. The sources I use to find the information will be listed below, and everything I say is my own opinion unless it is stated as fact. And as always, I mean no disrespect to anyone I speak about, and this is simply serving as a platform to uplift the victims' voices and stories. Today I'm going to be covering the case of Jesse Hess and Chris Lategan. And I'm sure a lot of people might recognize Jesse's name. She is one of many, many victims of GBV, or gender-based violence, or violence against women in South Africa. So, the United Nations describes GBV as, quote, any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, whether occurring in public or private life. Gender-based violence is, according to the United Nations Population Fund, a somewhat more inclusive term than violence against women. So in other words, GBV could include violence against men, provided the violence stems from a man's gender identity or presentation. So in other words, people who identify differently from their assigned gender at birth could also be victims of gender-based violence.
Okay.
That specifically doesn't pertain to this case, but I thought it was interesting just to add that in.
Yeah.
So just a little bit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I also wasn't aware. As I pictured it, GBV is almost like the umbrella term, and then we're specifically talking about violence against women in this case today.
Okay.
Jessie Hess's stepsister described Jessie in an article by saying, quote, her presence, being around her, was absolutely amazing. It was a dream being around her. It actually made you feel better being around her because her bubbly personality made you forget everything that was going on in just that split second. Jessie had a zest for life and she was very excited about her future. She was 18 years old and a first-year theology student at the University of the Western Cape. She was an aspiring pastor. So, good heart, good intentions. Her grandmother said that the two of them were like friends and they would do many things together. In the video I watched of her grandmother, she said how she'd wake up in the morning and, she had a couple of errands to run, and then Jessie would wake up and she's like, oh no, please wait for me, let me get dressed, let me get finished, and so that she can go with her grandmother.
No, cute.
She also used to show her love through handwritten notes to her loved ones.
Okay.
She contributed to her household with the little bit of money she saved, and she actually opened a Fushini account, which is like a clothing company in South Africa, a short time before her untimely death. And the first purchase that she made was a purse that she gave her grandmother.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, like the first purchase on the account, the Fushini account. UWC posted a video in memory of Jessie for her 21st birthday, which would have been in 2021. It's on YouTube, and I did link it below. I highly recommend watching it if you want to cry, but also get a clearer idea of who she is and what she meant to those around her. Chris Lategan was a 85-year-old husband, father, and grandfather. He was a respected member of his community as well. There wasn't as much information on him as there was on Jessie, but he was all round loved and respected. On the 30th of August 2019, Jessie's aunt was trying to get a hold of her, but she wasn't answering, which was very unlike her. And Jessie's aunt then alerted Jessie's stepmother, who then went to Jessie's grandfather's flat where she knew she would be. I'm not 100% sure, but I think she might have been living with her grandparents, or at least, I said in the beginning she contributed to the household and stuff like that. So if at the very least probably stayed with them a few times in a month or whatever the case may have been, she was there. Upon arrival, the front door was locked, and I read that she might have seen Chris Lategan passed out or unconscious in the bathroom, and that's why she decided to go and get someone to help her break into the house. Or I just thought, okay, maybe she knocked on the door so many times and no one was answering, but I think she might have seen him because she decided to ask for help from a nearby neighbor, and then he proceeded to break through a glass panel door depending on the references you consult, steel burglar bars to gain entry to the residence. So nonetheless, they had to break through a substantial amount of deterrence, I guess, to get into the flat. So, trigger warning here. Both Jessie and her grandfather were found dead in the flat. Chris was found in the bathroom. He had been tied up, and both of their cause of death was strangulation. Jessie was found in the bedroom. Her hands were also tied behind her back, and she had been gagged with a pillowcase and a sock. And she also had brown tape. You know that brown tape that's not duct tape, but it's not normal tape. She had that tape like wrapped around her face as well. And she was also found naked from the waist down. In the next few days, the family of the two victims would have to arrange and go through 2 heartbreaking funerals. I read an article where they had just had Jessie's funeral, and they said, okay, well, now we have to prepare for her grandfather's funeral, which was a couple of days later, a few days later. Yeah. So police would obviously start their investigation, and they noted that the door was obviously locked upon arrival and there was no forced entry. The cause of death was basically immediately confirmed due to the fact that both victims had a belt tied around their necks, and only a few items were stolen from the house. A TV set, 2 cell phones, and Jessie's backpack. On the 11th of November 2019, it was reported that a man was on the run after assaulting 2 girls. One was 16 years old and the other one was 19 years old in the Cape Flats. The 2 girls were attacked. Some places state that it was only 1 girl, but he still assaulted someone. And
if it's 1 girl, it's still 1 too many.
Yes, exactly. And once again, well, this whole thing is a trigger warning, but the attacker tied their hands behind their backs and he raped the 16-year-old victim. He was interrupted. So this is also where the confusion comes in, like whether it was only the 1 girl and he was interrupted by her mother, or, it was the 2 girls and he just got interrupted and didn't get to the 19-year-old or whatever. Point is, he fled on foot before escaping by jumping into a taxi. Community members immediately alerted police, and a SAPS spokesperson, Captain FC van Wyk, or FC from Van Wyk, if you're English, said about the suspect, quote, "He is positively linked to a rape and robbery of an incident which occurred on Monday, 11 May 2019 in Hanover Park, where a 16-year-old girl was raped. He is currently wanted for the incident on Monday and is currently on the run. This office can confirm that a 16-year-old female was raped at the house premises at Leinberg Road, Hanover Park, at about 7:45 in the morning. A male suspect is still at large, and the arrests are yet to be made." So he was linked to Jessie's murder as well. So there was circumstantial evidence that he was at the scene of the crime as well. And he was also the second cousin of Jessie Hess.
Ugh, no, seriously.
His name is David van Boven. He was 32 years old. And he was later arrested after being found in Trashbag. He was hiding there. Let me infuriate you, like I was, when I heard a little bit more about this man's history. He was actually out on parole. He hadn't even been released for a full year. He was released in December 2018. And what was he in jail for, might you ask?
Rape.
Exactly. Specifically for the rape of a relative.
Of course.
It is also...
really?
It is also alleged that he is a member of the 28th gang. So very comfortable in prison then as well, He then either implicated another man, or evidence was found on the scene that led to his arrest. But nonetheless, Taslim Boinky Ambrose was arrested several days after Van Boven. He had previous convictions for drug possession and gun possession. The 2 men appeared in court for the first time in late November 2019. Van Boeven had a hoodie on that he used to conceal his face. Like, he completely pulled it over. It almost looked like a oversized hoodie because that hood was just so big. He used it to conceal his entire face. And he reportedly shouted...
I wish he could strangle himself with it.
And he reportedly shouted, quote, "Vir wat wil jy my gesig sien?" Which it translates to, "Why do you want to see my face?" But I wouldn't even really say it's, "Why do you want to see my face?" It's more, "What do you want to see my face for?" Like, that is a better translation to me. There's a difference, like, in the attitude.
Yeah.
You're not going to ask someone, "Vir wat wil jy dit sien?" in Afrikaans if you're being polite.
No.
So he shouted that to courtgoers as they called out for him to remove his hoodie while he and his co-accused left the dock. So as they were walking out of the court. Neither of the men applied for bail, and Van Boeven opted for legal aid, while Ambrose said he would like to represent himself.
Okay, Ted Bundy, calm down.
I know, I also thought about that. And it wasn't long until Ambrose completely flipped on Van Boeven. The case was then postponed to the 12th of February 2020, pending further investigations. And eventually the case would be postponed all the way to 2022. All in all, the case was postponed 5 times.
Jeez.
So in February 2022, the trial commenced. And Ambrose basically said that Van Boeven was the mastermind and he just followed orders. He was just the puppet. He said that on the 30th of August 2019, he accompanied Van Boeven to Jesse's grandfather's flat in Parow, under the guise that he had to fetch money from a relative, aka Chris Lategan. Before I go into like more detail about what happened on this day specifically, I also wanted to add that Jessie didn't know Van Boeven that well. After all, he was in jail for most of her life, but since he was let out on parole, she had come into contact with him, and she did feel uneasy and even scared around him. I believe that she saw him one Mother's Day because her aunt mentioned that he was there and they spoke about care for his sick mother or something to that effect. But there are also text messages that Jessie's father provided that Jessie sent to her boyfriend, and that's what I'm going to read now. So all of this is just quoted from the texts that were provided from her father. So this is all Jessie sending the message. The whole message is Jessie. Okay. So this guy that used to be a family friend, I think you know how, like, being a second cousin is, like, quite far removed. So there's this guy that used to be a family friend that takes drugs and is involved in gangs and stuff, and found out where Ma lives. And he came here, like, twice this year, and every time he comes, we're luckily, like, all home, and Auntie Sandy will give him something or whatever. But we have been worried because he's been coming often with his sketchy friends outside, and then he comes in and, like, says nothing. And today I was home alone because Auntie Sandy went to gym, and he came knocking wild here on our door with his friend. And I was so scared I ran to Ma's bedroom, and he kept banging on the door, and I switched the TV off and acted like no one was home. So clearly, you know, she was scared of him. And also, according to the United Nations Population Fund, slightly more than 1 in 3 women have experienced violence at the hands of a partner or family member, and 80% of adult victims know their rapist, and over 90% of youth victims know theirs. So,
that is so insane.
Even though he is somewhat removed, being a second cousin who had been in prison for as long as he had, he's still family, and I think a lot of people struggle with cutting ties with family. And I know it's difficult, and I know there's always that thing about, oh, blood is thicker than water and stuff like that. But if someone is a toxic person, you have the right to put a boundary down and not have that person in your life, be it family or friend or whoever. And I'm not victim blaming, I'm not blaming anyone, because I think most people have have that thought, oh, well, you know, everyone deserves a second chance, and people need to have the opportunity to like integrate back into society and stuff like that. But you can only
depends on the severity of what you've done.
Exactly, and you can only integrate.
Yeah.
And you can only integrate back into society if you've actually done rehabilitation and you know, you're doing therapy and you're working on your underlying issues and traumas.
Yeah. And I mean, like, just for me personally, like, I think if I knew a family member, no matter how, like, distant they are, if they were in prison for rape at some point, I would never associate 100%. With them in any sense. If people ask me if I'm related, I'd be like, no, I don't know them.
Yeah,
you know, because I'm not associating with someone like that. Like,
no.
I don't care how close we might have been or whatever. Like, no. Because that's not okay with me. So, like, I know for me that's kind of easier to, like, put boundaries up, I guess. But I know, for some people, I don't understand it. It's just so difficult for them.
Yeah. There's also a lot of people that are kind of like, oh, don't speak out of the house. And I'm not saying they're like this at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I think there is still somewhat a culture of don't talk out of the house, don't embarrass us, don't, like, spread these stories. Let's just deal with things in the house.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Ask for help. Like, it's okay.
You don't have to do it alone.
And you don't have to be embarrassed because there's probably 100 other people, 1,000 other people, 100,000 people that are going through a similar experience, potentially.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it doesn't matter how rich you are. There's still families where, you know, there's drug addicts or, you know, alcoholics or thieves, murderers. Like, it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are. Like, family problems happen to everybody.
Exactly.
So there's no need for that shame and like, oh, we can't let people know. The more people that know, the more people can help you as well.
Exactly. And like, also, when you start seeing warning signs, you know, before it's too late, like, get them into therapy, get them into something so that it can be prevented. But I know there's so many other facets that go into this, like where you grow up, the culture in which you grow up, and poverty. All of these things gangsterism. All of these things play a massive role. And the only way it's gonna get better is if there's like a complete overhaul in how the system works, and we actually do provide housing and secure water and food and stuff like that for every citizen, you know. And I'm not speaking specifically, I am speaking specifically about South Africa, but that you can put that onto the whole world. To continue with the events of the 30th of August 2019. So Ambrose testified that Chris Lategan let the two men into his house because he knew Van Boven. And upon entering, Van Boven asked Chris for refreshments. So he went to go and make them some tea, and he served it to them on a little saucer in a little cup. Quote, "After the elderly man gave me the tea, he turned around to go to the kitchen, and that's when he choked him. He choked him with his right hand. David started to swear at the elderly gentleman as well." This is all from Ambrose, just he's testifying all of this. Quote, "I became very afraid, especially when David placed the man on the floor and he remained motionless. David also assaulted the young lady. He instructed me to take some items from the flat, and he also removed some items. Those items were later sold by David, and he handed me some cash." Ambrose said he was scared of David, Van Boven, and tried to call his father for help. Quote, "I later saw a small cell phone he left in the car, and I used it to call my father for help, but there wasn't enough time to ask him for help before David returned." Continuing the quote, "I complied because I was afraid for my life, having experienced what David was capable of. I attempted to flee the flat, but could not." He then testified that Jesse tried running to the front door to escape because, like, right after Van Boven had, this part is also a little bit like murky, because like it said that Van Boven followed her into the bathroom after she came out to greet him, but Chris Lategan was then in the bathroom. Or maybe that he moved him later. perhaps.
Yeah.
He followed her into the bathroom after she came out to greet him, but she obviously was unsuccessful into trying to get out. Quote, as she was walking away, he tackled her with his shoulders in her stomach, like a rugby move. I think that was the time she saw the elderly man on the floor. Quote, he tackled her towards me and I jumped up to get out of the way. When he tackled her, he took his shoelaces and tied her hands behind her back. He then raised her to her feet and told her, quote, let's go speak inside, unquote. He was testifying this all while Van Boeven was apparently giving him incredibly dirty looks, and during the lunch break, Van Boeven was heard openly threatening Ambrose in the dock. So,
like, imagine being an old man, or just an old person in general. You've lived such a long life, you've been through so much, and then some little shit just comes and strangles you and takes your life because he just wants to rape his second cousin. Like, it just makes me so mad.
He's horrible. He's a horrible person. And the fact that he also continued his rampage not long after, that just shows you that he is a serial sex offender.
Yeah, no remorse. Yeah.
So I also want to add that Van Boeven was seen smirking while the pathologist was testifying that even though there were no injuries sustained during the rape, this does not exclude the possibility of Jessie being raped, and I think it's very probable that she actually was assaulted. A pair of her jeans had also
what's
been.
The point then? Sorry, like if you're gonna tie her hands up and like lead her. Sorry,
no, that's the lag.
what's the point if like you're gonna go through all that trouble, kill the man who could potentially protect her, even though there's two of you, and then you're gonna tie her hands up and like obviously your motives are very clear.
He must have. Exactly. You're right. What was the reason? He must have gone in with a plan. That's. He must have seen her there before, and
like she said, he was there before and didn't really say much or do much. He was just like staking it out, basically. Floor plan, looking at her. It's so scary. Like it's a family member.
Yep.
That's terrifying.
So a pair of her jeans had also been found in the washing machine, which investigators believed was an attempt to destroy evidence. Ambrose and David Van Boeven were originally charged with 6 counts of murder, rape, fraud, or theft, and robbery with aggravating circumstances. And in this week, the 9th of May to be precise, David Van Boeven was convicted in the Western Cape High Court on Monday of murder, 2 counts of robbery with aggravating circumstances, sexual assault, fraud and theft. And then Taslim Ambrose was acquitted of murder, sexual assault, fraud and theft, and he was only convicted on 2 counts of robbery with aggravating circumstances. I also think that the fact that he rolled over on Van Boeven definitely probably helped this case as well.
Yes.
Sentencing is expected to begin on the 7th of June of this year, and I will definitely keep everyone updated. It's such a long drawn-out process.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
I mean, these people have been waiting for, or these family members have been waiting for how many years? 3 years now, and justice isn't technically is justice ever really served? It's that's a difficult question. It's like in one of the previous cases, I think it was Hannah Cornelius, a family friend of hers said that even if there is a conviction, there's no justice really, because Hannah is still gone, or the victim is still gone.
Can't get them back.
Exactly. Nothing can rectify that. So this case happened during the time.
It's just like some small thing to I just feel like it's just some small thing to make the family or the people who lost someone feel a bit better. Like, those people are at least paying. It's some consolation. Yeah. But you can never get that person. Like 2 family members, you can't get them. 2 generations like that. That's
gone in an instant. I know. So this case happened during the same time as Uyenene Mkhontana. She was murdered on the 24th of August. Leandre Babylee Jechels, who we've covered before, was murdered on the 30th of August, same day as Jesse Hess.
Sure.
And Yannicka Mallow was murdered on the 1st of September. During this time, the hashtag #AmINext protests began. And Patrick and I actually went to the protests, one of those protests that happened in the CBD, in Cape Town CBD. President Ramaphosa addressed the protesters outside of Parliament, and he said, quote, "I know what you're all going through," and that made me unreasonably angry, because you do not.
Yeah.
Because
No.
you are a man, and you are very, very, like, I'm not saying he came from privileged background, but right now he is privileged. He's literally the president of our country. You could say, I empathize what you go through. I'm angry with what you're going through. But anyway. He said he had received a memorandum and had seen the placards being held. "I agree with you. Indeed, enough is enough," he said. He promised to address the nation soon on the measures to curb gender-based violence, including harsher penalties. Quote, "So that the men who violate women, who rape women, and who kill women must stay in jail for life." Ramaphosa said that those who killed and raped women should not get bail or parole. Crimes against women and children should be priority crimes, he said. He also said during this time, quote, "We are going to do an overhaul and modernize the National Register of Gender-Based Violence Offenders provided for the Sexual Offenders Act to ensure it is effective in combating gender-based violence. This National Register of Offenders will list all men convicted of acts of violence against women and children. I will ask Parliament to consider amending the legislation to make the register public." Is it public today? No, it's still not. Of course not.
Of course not.
Men are literally still being allowed out on 1,000 rand bail for being accused of rape. And I saw a man was convicted, and he was let out on 10,000 rand bail, something like that.
Jeez. You know, that's so ridiculous. Oh, it's so frustrating.
It's incredibly frustrating. I'm just so... I got so upset when I read that, because I just feel like, once again, it's nothing new in South Africa, but we're just being fed empty promises, you know, and it's not getting better. It hasn't gotten better at all.
It's probably just gotten worse.
100%, because have you seen what the unemployment rate is? 35.3%.
Sure.
Almost a quarter of South Africans of legal age that don't have work.
Oh, that's crazy. Sure.
And that adds to tension in the household, which adds to the abuse, unfortunately, because who is the boxing bag?
And I mean, you add the alcohol problem as well.
Alcohol, exactly.
Or drugs. But usually just the alcohol. Like, obviously I'm not in that situation, but from what I've seen and heard, like, a lot of the paycheck then goes into drinking, because then at least you can forget about how crappy life is.
It's a coping mechanism,
but then you're beating your spouse up. It's so bad. Ugh. I wish life was just not so terrible.
I just get frustrated, because I really truly believe that there is enough resource, or there are enough resources in the world for everyone.
For sure.
Like, I know we've completely overpopulated the earth. Like, I think everyone should hold back on having many kids. I'm not saying don't have kids at all, but don't have like 10 children.
If you want that many kids, then adopt them. Like, have 1 or 2 biological and then adopt. Like, why do you need to bring so many more people onto this planet? Like, I'm 31 and I have not had any kids because A, it's really freaking expensive, and 2, like, the world doesn't really need more kids. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't need more people.
I just have to say, I love how you're like, A, blah, 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 and 2, blah, 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 blah.
And C, I don't have kids because I'm dumb as shit.
Roman numerals 3. I. But no, I do agree with you. I do agree with you.
The eyes have it. No more babies.
Yeah, but That was the case, and I will definitely keep us updated, keep everyone updated on the sentencing. But that's sad.
Oh, that's so sickening. And just like the lack of remorse. Like I hate when, like if you can at least show some like if it's genuine, if you have some remorse after you've done something, it's still like, okay, fine, there's some humanity in you. But if you're like smirking and like, especially when they're talking about damage you did, intimate details like that, like you think it's a joke. Like that's sick. That shows how depraved you are.
100%.
Oh, it just makes me so mad.
Same.
I need to get more wine. I'm sad now.
Yeah, and as per usual, I need a bathroom break. I'll be back.
Yeah, okay, I'll know. If you search Samuel, the first result is him, and the next one is someone from Game of Thrones.
Samuel Tarly.
Alright, anyway.
You didn't watch Game of Thrones, eh?
No. I started watching the first episode, and I was like, I don't know if I can watch this. I know that, like, the story unfolds and stuff. It's like, that's why I can't watch Handmaid's Tale and stuff like that. I just get so angry.
You've saved yourself a world of hurt because season 8 is trash. And it's the last season. Fucking trash on fire. Bullshit. In a trash bag set on fire.
Stop talking about me like that,
If you were a trash bag, you would be a golden one.
Aww.
But you like dressing in black, so it kind of fits your aesthetic already.
Oh yeah, it does, yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that because it's so true. I mean, I was just looking at my notes now and I was thinking, we've actually had a fairly good recording session so far. Like, better than most times, I would say. For it being Retrograde Friday the 13th.
I agree, and it's been about 90 minutes of recording, so it's not that bad. We've been in worse situations.
It's still long.
I know.
Well, I don't think mine will be that long. It's basically, I don't have a story. I'm just covering Friday the 13th.
Oh, I was like, that's so cool!
Perfect.
Oh my
Topic
gosh.
from the heavens. So, of course, Friday the 13th is a famously unlucky day and has generated a lot of fear and superstition for centuries. It's so synonymous with bad luck that there are 2 terms that describe the fear of the day. Lord help me to say this. Parascavidecatriophobia and frigatriscadicophobia. A Friday that falls on the 13th day of a month typically occurs at least once every year, but it can occur up to 3 times per year.
Ooh.
And Friday the 13th apparently occurs in any month that begins on a Sunday. Is that true? I didn't actually check if that's true. Yeah. It started on the 1st of May, which is a Sunday.
That's interesting.
Nice. Donald Dossey, a folklore historian, attributes the superstition of Friday the 13th with the Norse myth where 12 gods had a dinner party in Valhalla. The story goes that Loki, the trickster god, was not invited and arrived as the 13th guest. Loki arranged for Othr, I had to Google that pronunciation, to shoot Balder with a mistletoe-tipped arrow, which killed him instantly. And to quote Dossey, Balder died and the whole earth got dark. The whole earth mourned. It was a bad, unlucky day. And this major event in Norse mythology caused the number 13 to be considered unlucky. And then, of course, there's the parallel of the Christian variation.
Yeah.
Most likely stolen from the pagans. In which Jesus had his last supper with his 12 disciples.
Yes.
And there were a total of 13 people in attendance. But then, of course, Judas Iscariot, the 13th one, betrayed Jesus. And then that dinner happened on the Thursday night. And his death was the Friday, which is known as Good Friday. So there's, those parallels.
Also, in Harry Potter, 16 years ago, Sybil Trelawney made a prophecy about a boy who was born at the end of July. Oh, this is not the prophecy I was looking for. Bitch.
These are not the droids you're looking for. That's going on a shirt. This is not the prophecy you're looking for. I'm writing that down.
In chapter 11 of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Dumbledore invites Trelawney to join his Christmas dinner in the Great Hall. She declined, saying, "I dare not, headmaster. If I join the table, we shall be 13. Nothing could be more unlucky. Never forget that when 13 dine together, the first to rise will be the first to die. She thought there were 12 people sitting at the table, but if you count Scabbers, the rat, which was secretly Peter Pettigrew, spoiler alert if you haven't fucking seen Harry Potter yet, there were already 13 dining together, and Dumbledore was the first to rise, and he was the first to die when Snape killed him on top of the observation tower, spoiler alert.
Oh no. Okay, we need to have a Harry Potter night.
Did you not know he died?
I watched, I think, one. No, I think I watched like 1 or 2 movies and then... No, I mean, I'm probably going to forget in like an hour. But we need to have like a Harry Potter day because we can't just do a night. And then we just like eat a ton of popcorn and donuts and then just watch all the movies.
Yes.
And wine.
And pizza.
We're going to have such a carb day. It's going to be great.
Oh, yum. Love carbs. Carbs are my favorite form of food.
Harry Potter, carbs, and wine. That's also going on a t-shirt. I'm literally just writing down t-shirt ideas. In some instances, it is said that Friday was the day that the following took place. Quote, Friday is said to be the day that Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge, the day Cain murdered his brother Abel, and the day the temple of Solomon was toppled, also the day Noah's Ark set sail in the great flood. End quote. So, you know, they're attributing all these, like, biblical happenings,
to,
you know, pre-Egypt. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
But
did they even have days of the week then? Sorry. Did they even have fucking days of the week?
They didn't. Well, I mean, the Gregorian calendar is only since, Emperor Gregory? I don't know. That was a Roman dude, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Before that, we had a different calendar, and, I mean, that was, I want to say 19 Futsak, but that was, like, 1,000 whatever years on the planet.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm sure they didn't have a fucking Friday. Oh, TGIF. Yeah. Let's go to the Great Pyramids.
Thank Yahweh, it's Friday. I'm writing that down.
Thank Ra, it's Friday.
Yes, that's even better. I want that on a t-shirt with a little pyramid. Okay. It can be said that Friday the 13th didn't become synonymous with bad luck until around the 19th century.
Okay.
So a Steve Roud explains in The Penguin Guide to the Superstitions of Britain and Ireland, quote, the combination of Friday and the number 13 is a Victorian invention. In 1907, the publication of Thomas W. Lawson's popular novel,
definitely not
Friday
a D.
the 13th, Can't
it's
read.
not even a B.
I have no explanation for that. His popular novel, Friday the 13th, captured the imagination with its tale of an unscrupulous broker who took advantage of the superstitious around the date to deliberately crash the stock market. End quote.
Okay.
In the Middle Ages, a wedding would never be held on a Friday, since this is not the day one should start a journey. In Britain, it's said that Friday was known as Hangman's Day, where those condemned to death would be executed on this day. So I guess, like anyone who was sentenced in the week, Friday would be like the day that they killed people.
Yes.
So yeah, like I actually went on a whole thing to look for, you know, days where journeys started on a Friday, and it's like very, very few. Like it's just, it's not a day, because it's an ending, you know, it's the end of the week. Now we move to numerology and occultism. So in tarot, the 13th card is the death card. Mm-hmm. But like the devil and the tower cards, these are usually seen as negative or bad omens. However, with each death, ending, and so on comes new beginnings, opportunities, and growth. In ancient cultures, the number 13 has been associated with femininity, corresponding to the number of lunar or menstrual cycles in a year. It's very much tied to, I think, ancient cultures as well, like the feminine connection to 13. Then in numerology, there are root, compound, and master numbers. So 13 is a compound number, and its root is 4. So like root would be 1 to 9, and then compound is, 11, 12, whatever. But not 11 and those kind of numbers, because those are master numbers. But anyway, the 13 usually refers to concepts such as change, rebirth, and transformation. And then in Freemasonry, the original American flag and the dollar bill seal both displayed 13 stars, since the belief was that 13 was a number of good fortune.
Interesting.
In I Ching, and the I Ching or the Yijing, usually translated as Book of Changes or Classic of Changes, is an ancient Chinese divination text and among the oldest of the Chinese classics. So in this, the 13th Kua is translated as, quote, fellowship with men, end quote, or, quote, sameness with people, end quote. This refers to the ability to organize and work with others in productive activity. And 13 is also a number associated with karma and changes that might occur due to it. So, like, there's very much some cultures, it's bad luck, it's negative, but in some places, like, 13 is actually, Friday the 13th is a good day, it's a portent of good luck. It's like, what is it? In China, white is associated with death, so you don't get married in a white dress, you get married in a red dress.
Yes.
You know, because, yeah, so it's like, but for us, that would, like, white is purity or whatever. Mm-hmm. Just some brief statistics I saw. So there was one study in 1993, and it showed an increase in accidents and hospital admissions on Friday the 13th. But then they also said that these numbers were too small to allow for a meaningful analysis. Mm. But then in 2008, the Dutch Center for Insurance Statistics stated that the number of accidents and hospitalizations actually decreased on Friday the 13th. And it's most likely because people are more careful and take more precautions than they normally would because they expect it's going to be unlucky.
Okay, because it's already in their head.
Cautious.
Oh.
Yes, which, I mean, is a good thing then. Like, we should be like that more often.
For sure.
And then there's, and then of course, the 80s brought us the infamous hockey mask-wearing slasher Jason Voorhees in the movie titled Friday the 13th. And there's been so many, you know, variations and iterations of that movie by now. But it's still, you know, it's one of those classics. And then in 2003, Dan Brown's novel, The Da Vinci Code, grew the notion that on Friday, October 13th, 1307, hundreds of members of the Knights Templar were arrested and executed. Yeah. So there's like this whole thing that on Friday the 13th in 1307, the Knights Templar were arrested and all this. Like there's a whole thing, but it's like a kind of thought of as a conspiracy that he just kind of brought attention to.
Oh.
Yeah. So now there's some stories and occurrences. This is just a list of things, some things I found that happened on Friday the 13th.
Okay.
So in the 1800s, the superstition of Friday the 13th affected sailors to the point that the British Royal Navy wanted to dispel their myths. So they built a ship named Her Majesty's Ship Friday. The shipbuilding is said to have started on a Friday. The crew was selected on a Friday.
Why do you
The
do
captain
this?
in command was Captain James Friday. The voyage started on Friday the 13th. And the ship was never seen or heard from again.
Oh, why tempt fate? Like, I'm not saying... I just wouldn't tempt it. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. But I just wouldn't... Don't give it too much credit. Like, you're giving it so much credit by now trying to prove a point that, there's nothing to be scared of.
Yeah. Then in 1821, in July, Nathan Bedford Forrest was born. Forrest was a Confederate general in the U.S., and he was in charge of the Fort Pillow Massacre, where over 200 unarmed Union soldiers, mostly black men, surrendered and were killed. Forrest is believed to be the first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, my word.
He was born on Friday the 13th, 1939.
I believe that Friday the 13th is a bad day now.
I'm sorry, if you call yourself the Grand Wizard, like, come on.
Fuck off.
That's so stupid. I can't take someone seriously if they're like, I'm the Grand Wizard.
How many people have told you
You're
that?
Well, I mean, it's safe to say, if you meet a white man who's introduces himself as the Grand Wizard, you should punch him in the face, because he's most likely in the KKK.
Yeah, oh, that's gross.
So gross.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah. All those, like, white supremacist neo-Nazis. Just go away. You suck.
Yeah.
Anyway. Then in 1940, in September, Germans bombed Buckingham Palace. King George VI and Queen Elizabeth barely managed to escape the attack.
Oh, wow.
In 1951, I didn't know that,
Neither do I.
In 1951, in July, in Kansas, USA, they had flooding, which was the result of over 25 inches or 63.5 centimeters of rain, which resulted in over 2 million acres of land being damaged.
Oh.
Oil tanks were affected by the storm, resulting in them catching fire and exploding. Passengers were stuck on trains for around 4 days. So some Kansas citizens then refer to this as Black Friday.
Oh, that's weird.
And then, yeah, there's a few of those where they call it Black Friday. And then I was like, why do they call like the shopping day Black Friday? Isn't that like insulting to all these terrible events that were referred to as Black Friday?
Yeah.
And that was only 1951. That's not that long ago.
No, it's not.
And then
that's like within our parents' generation.
Yeah. This is one you've heard of. In 1964, Kitty Genovese, I don't know, a bar manager, was raped and stabbed to death by Winston Moseley. This occurred in the middle of a road, and it had apartment buildings with windows overlooking the area around it. Apparently around 38 people witnessed the crime, but it was claimed that nobody tried to help or called the police, and this was the start of the bystander effect. So, like, this was happening in a place where people were seeing it. Like, 38 witnesses is a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and no one did anything. They were like, oh, it's just a lover's quarrel. It's like someone's being raped and murdered in the street. Like, what are you doing? A lover's quarrel. Like, what the hell? Like, where do you live? You know?
I would hope that I would have the courage to, like, intervene. Honestly.
Yeah. Moseley, thankfully, recently died in prison at the age of 81, which is still too many years. He should have died a lot sooner. In 1970, in Bangladesh, the deadliest reported tropical cyclone struck the area. It made landfall the Thursday night, but from that night and during that Friday, Cyclone Bola killed around 300,000 people.
Yo.
So that was quite a hectic cyclone. It just like did so much damage. Also in 1970, on a more positive note, in February of 1970, Black Sabbath released their debut album in the UK. Throw in something nice every once in a while. So then in 1972, this was the date of the infamous crash of the plane carrying the Uruguayan rugby team. This team was traveling to Chile when their plane crashed in the snowy Andes Mountains. The team was stranded on the mountains, battling freezing temperatures, trying to survive. The 14 or 16 survivors that were found 2 months after they crashed, they survived by eating the bodies of the other 31 crew members and passengers who died in the crash, or from circumstances on the mountain. I think I remember in a certain part, like, a few of them went to try and look for help, because they're like, we're just sitting here waiting for help. We're running out of supplies. Yeah. People are dying. Like, we've got nothing. We have to find help. And I think they went off and some of them died. And I don't know if that's when some of them found help. Like, I should have actually researched it. But I remember watching a documentary about this. But it's just like, oof. Can you imagine 2 months in the snow with no supplies? Like, what do you do? Of course you have
having to eat someone that you literally just knew, you know?
Yeah, that's... oof. In 1972, the same day as this plane crash, a non-scheduled international passenger flight from Paris to Moscow, known as Aeroflot Flight 217, crashed. All 164 passengers and 10 crew members were killed, and the cause of the crash is unknown.
Sure.
So that's really strange. It's like on the same day, 2 plane crashes in different places. It's very strange.
That is weird.
Then, in 1976, a man named Daz Baxter from New York decided to stay in bed to avoid the bad luck of the day. I saw in different places, like, he had, just a lot of bad things happening on those days. Like, apparently the one day he accidentally hospitalized his partner because, like, he, I don't know, punched her or something, but it was, like, accidental stuff that just kept happening. Like, just, like, these bad things, like, I don't know, it was just a lot.
That's
I can't
weird.
remember the details now, sorry.
Yeah,
but unfortunately for him, this day that he decided to stay in bed and hide away from the bad luck, his apartment floor gave in, collapsed, and he fell to his death. He fell 6 stories.
What the hell?
So it's like Black Friday. Friday the 13th was coming for him. Like, he couldn't escape it.
Yeah, he was on Final Destination, he just didn't know it.
Yeah. And then in 1976, the original Freaky Friday movie was released with Jodie Foster as the daughter and Barbara Harris as the mother. It was then re-released in 2003 with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, that's the one I know.
Yeah, me too. I was like, 1976? Damn.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't watch that. Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay, how old are you?
Yeah, I was like...
In January 1989, on Friday the 13th, the UK experienced a computer virus that affected hundreds of computers and deleted personal files, slowing down computers. The virus struck on Friday the 13th. Apparently it was engineered to be activated on Friday the 13th. So obviously just someone playing into the whole thing, but that still sucks, you know?
For sure.
September 7th, 1996, a white Cadillac pulled up next to Tupac Shakur's car. The occupants opened fire at Shakur's vehicle. He ended up being shot 4 times and was taken to hospital where he lost consciousness. He had surgery and was put in a medically induced coma. He would, however, die on Friday, 13th September.
I didn't know that was a Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Me too, yeah. So, I mean, that was September 7th, so that was a few days that they were trying to, save him. And then September 13th, Friday, he just was like, I can't. Yeah. And in 1998, in November, in Kokanee Lake, British Columbia, former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau's son, Michael Trudeau, was killed in an avalanche. And yes, that is current Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's father and brother. I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know he's from a whole family of politicians. Well, I mean, it's probably expected, but I didn't know that. And then in 2004, in August, the strongest hurricane to hit the United States since 1992 was Category 4 Hurricane Charlie. It slammed into southwest Florida. Charlie was the first of 4 hurricanes to strike Florida in the year of 2004. Sadly, the following deaths were reported due to this hurricane. In Jamaica, there was 1. Cuba, there was 4. The United States, there was 10. This is along with numerous reports of injuries. Property damage in the United States was said to be around $16 billion.
Oh my word. What the hell?
That's a lot.
That is
I don't know if that's after the 4 hurricanes or after that 1, but it's still a lot.
Oh, geez Louise. Could you imagine if it's just after the 1? How much it would be after all 4?
Oh my word, yeah. Oof, sure. Yeah, that's one reason I'm glad I don't live in the US. All the hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes and stuff.
Same.
In 2006, in October, the 13th book in a series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket was released. I've never read any of them. I know there's probably movies, I think, as well. I've also never read them. In 2006, oh yeah, my brain is off. Okay. Yes, I never watched them. I don't even notice anymore. I just say things and I'm like, okay. In 2006, in October, New York experienced a blizzard that resulted in 22 inches or 55.88 centimeters of snow. It was not the type of weather expected for that type of year, and around 1 million people ended up without power, and around 6 people died. Because it was just unseasonal.
Ew.
That is a lot of snow. 56 centimeters, yeah. In 2010, a boy was with his family at the Lowestoft Seafront Air Festival in England. This boy was 13 years old and was hit by lightning. He was hit by lightning at 13:13 p.m. on Friday the 13th. He survived though. But
crazy.
What the hell? Go play the lottery immediately.
Yes, what are the odds exactly?
In 2010, a luxury cruise ship, Costa Concordia, ran aground off of the western coast of Italy. This resulted in 32 passengers and crew members losing their lives. Over 4,000 people had to evacuate the vessel, and it capsized around 10 p.m. at night.
Oh my word.
So that was quite that's at night, that's not a really great time to capsize. That's so difficult to see anybody. I just get Titanic flashbacks from the movie.
I watched
how are you supposed to find survivors?
I watched a video where it shows you the movie version of Titanic, how, you know, you can see everything happening and whatever. And then they showed the realistic version where actually you would see fuck all, especially if as soon as the lights went out when the boat started sinking.
So the last two. In 2012, the Cabin in the Woods film was released on a Friday the 13th in April.
Oh.
And then in 2012, also in April, at 8:30, Palermo, I think it's AM, Palermo, Sicily, Italy, was hit with a 4.3 magnitude earthquake. And then at 4 p.m. that afternoon, Oklahoma in the US was hit with a tornado.
Oh.
And like 4.3 is not that big of an earthquake. It's from Italy to get to like the middle of the US. I think it's the middle. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like to cause a tornado. So that's like two separate events.
Do you mean tsunami?
But like on the same day. No, tornado.
But an earthquake doesn't cause a tornado.
That's what I'm saying. I know, but I thought maybe with the patterns or changes, you know, it could have maybe triggered something. But like those are two very separate events, but on the same day, just a few hours apart.
Yeah, that is strange.
That's So that was like just a little bit of an exploration of the things that have happened on Friday the 13th and why people associate it with negativity and bad things. But again, like in some cultures, it's a positive day. And for some people, it's a day of good luck. I mean, look at us today. We've had, I think, less technical difficulties than we've had most times. And this is Friday the 13th in a retrograde. Like, that's amazing.
The only thing that has been like terrible is the lag, but that's not that new.
This was fun, as usual.
This was fun. But now I am hungry and I must eat.
I must consume. Oh, wow. So far, on AdSense this month, we've made 3 cents.
Oh, wow.
It's starting, it's growing. Let's see once people actually start visiting. So it's growing.
Yeah, definitely.
Who knows what it'll be like?
Please visit
that's
our
a rand
website.
That's like a rand, you know, from just people visiting our site. So
exactly. And speaking
of, we can get more visitors.
Exactly. And here is the site. It is lawandomen.com.
And we have social media, of course, which our handles are Law and Omen.
All around. And we have an email address which you can email us at. Please email your stories or requests or anything like that. info@lawandomen.com. New episodes out every Sunday.
Yes, and sorry for the... Indeed. And we realized only the other day that our episodes were not showing up on Apple and Amazon and Audible, but that issue has been fixed, as most of you have seen, because our download number has spiked. But thank you for listening. Even though it was delayed, we really appreciate it. It should all be back to normal. It was my fault. I screwed up the RSS feed when I updated the website.
It's all good. No, don't stress. Like, I didn't even know about it. Listen, did we say we'd get our tattoos at 1,000?
1,000. I know, I was thinking that earlier. We're gonna get the little ones though.
I know, but I need to save.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's like, I feel like we're gonna reach that goal within like the next month or so, because if we're already on almost 800 downloads, it's only 200 downloads to go. Oh my word. I thought I'd have a lot more time to prepare. I thought at least a year.
Yeah.
So this is great.
I wanted to do like 100.
Yeah, either 100 or 500. Just like, whoa there. Settle down. Yeah. But
really?
But thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
And we would appreciate it if you recommend this podcast to your friends, enemies, your cat, your dog, fish, your coworker, your boss.
Landlord, your boss. Hi, Jinx.
Your Uber driver.
Yeah, when you're on road trips with your friends, say like, "Oh, can I play a song?" And then you just put one of our episodes on. And then for the next hour, they just have to listen. Yeah.
That's one way of guaranteeing that you'll never be invited out again if you're an introvert, so...
Oh yes, that's wonderful.
So there's a plan for you. And just keep on liking the posts. We got a lot of increase in our Instagram likes and stuff last week.
Yes, thank you.
Please continue that trend. We love to see it.
Yes. And thank you for getting us on the top 200 of the the Apple
top 100
for true crime. Right? It was so amazing. Like, wow. We went from like 600 to like 200 to 76. So, wow, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
That was really unexpected.
The next goal is like top 50, and then from there it's like top 20, and then top 10, and then number 1 if we can make it. But anyway, I hope you have a great week to come. Stay safe. Be nice.
Like a loved one.
Yeah, exactly. And don't be a dick. Love you. Bye.
Bye.